Welcome ladies and gentlemen to my Stamina Templar PvP build for Homestead. You will find additional information on alcasthq.com/plague. It is actually quite interesting because now you find quite a lot of Stamina Templars in Cyrodiil because they received some significant buffs. I will get to that in a second. I want to talk about the basics in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we will talk about what kind of playstyle you should aim for, what kind of combos you can pull off and all kind of stuff. Let's get started. To show you the stats, look pretty well, like we have a lot of stam and health. Our weapon damage on the sword and board bar sits at 2.6k, on two-hander at 3.1. Weapon crit, it's at 31%, but it doesn't really matter. I will tell you in a second why. Stam rec 1.1k. This is more than enough. So actually, if you think you don't need more sustain, like you could swap out the Serpent Mundus with the Thief. But again, weapon crit is not that important, so I prefer the Serpent. This build works on both champion points campaign and non-champion points campaign. I will explain in the second part what kind of adjustments you have to make. In terms of race, I am a red guard because I love this passive. You could be a orc, Khajiit, imperial or whatsoever, also works. I just prefer sustain over everything else. Now in terms of buff food, we use the health and stamina buff food. That gives us a lot of resources. We don't need more magicka. In terms of potions, now this is very important. I either use those immovable pots or those. Usually those, because they give me CC immunity, speed buff and stamina, so you have perma speed buff on you, which increases your movement by a lot, which you will need. In some other tricky situations, more stationary, I use those because it also gives me health. I will put the ingredients on my website so you know how to craft those. Sometimes I also use those because there is sneaky knife blades everywhere. Basically it. Then on the non-champion points campaign, you probably should use this one. I will show you later. In terms of gear, we're using 5 pieces Vasalas, so this set is really strong, and especially on a Stamina Templar now. It basically reduces the healing taken for the enemy by 50%. I will show you in a second how you can increase that tooltip through champion points. On top of that, we are using Reverb Bash. It's another 30% healing debuff. It's multiplicative, remember? So the enemy has really problems healing back up. 2 pieces Velidref proc set, and it hits like a truck. 5 pieces Viper still does about 4k damage. It's insane. I will show you later what kind of combos you actually can pull off in terms of gear setup. Then we're using Drain Health poisons and Drain Magicka poisons. On my website you will find the ingredients. 3 weapon damage enchantments. And now here, Knife of Shadows. It's sharpened Viper. You drop that in Fungual normal 2, if I remember correctly, on the second boss. Took me like 8 runs to get it. Shield of the Viper, Impen. Try to get as much impenetrable as possible. I tried Sturdy, but I like Impen more because we are using biting chaps and we can't block during chaps, so that's why I prefer Impen. On your second bar you need a two-hander. Now use a Maelstrom weapon, use a Viper weapon, or just some random two-hander, as long as it's sharpened. Make sure it's sharpened. So that's why I say we don't need a lot of weapon critical, because we have the Viper, we have Velidref, both can't proc anymore. So the proc chance doesn't really matter that much, the weapon crit chance. So the thing why this is really strong, the setup. Enemies have a tough time healing back up, and we have Viper, Velidref and Burning Light proc. So that's 3 procs the enemy has to deal with. Plus he has to take most hits into his face because you cannot dodge roll biting chaps anymore. So plus it snares them, so it's really hard to avoid getting like damage with this kind of set combo, and again Vasalas makes it almost impossible to heal back up. Let's jump into the champion point system. 100 Warlord, 50 Mooncalf, 50 Tumbling. Then we have 30 into Bless to increase our healing, 30 Shattering Blows to get riposte. Still have like a 50% chance while we block to return damage to the enemy. So it's kind of another proc. 10 in Thaumaturge, 40 Piercing, 90 Mighty. 40 resistance to increase our crit resistance even further, 80 Hardy, 60 Elemental Defender and 20 Quick Recovery. We do not have any points in here because we can cleanse most enemy dots. I will get to that later. And now, where is it here? So basically, as you can see, Vasalas gives us 50%. So for example, if you play in a group and you know you have enough sustain, what you can do is just put 100 into Befooled, and you see it will increase the tooltip of your Vasala. It goes up to 66%. That's 16% additional healing debuff. It's fucking insane. That's just one option you have. In terms of skills, so on my website you will find what kind of passives here you all need, so go check it out. I'll just quickly go through the skills. I'm using Shielded Assault on my Sword and Board bar. Why do I use this one, not the other one? The other morph gives us increased stun time. I didn't find it's useful because most people break free anyway, so I rather have a small shield. Why a small shield? Because the next attack that hits you will not be a crit, because people cannot crit shields. So that's the idea behind this. Reverb Bash, really nice stun, and it also gives me Major Defile, and you see because we put points into Befooled it's even higher. It used to be 30%, with 100 into Befooled you get it up to 40. Biting Jabs, now a really strong skill this patch, simply because you cannot dodge roll it anymore. So especially for Night Blades, or especially versus stamina setups, this skill is very insanely effective now. It also snares the enemies, and enemies have to deal with our proc sets on top of that. Plus it gives us a major savagery. I mean, sure, like we're sit at 31. If I use it we're 41, so it's not too bad. Doesn't really matter. Extended Ritual. Most builds, especially dot builds like Magic DKs, it's piss easy to fight. Well, it's not piss easy to kill them, but they cannot kill you because they usually rely on their dots to kill you. But you can cleanse up to 5 harmful effects on yourself. You will see that in the second part of the video where I showcase 1-2 fights. Plus it gives us major mending through this here. Where is it? Increases while you use cleansing ritual, blah blah blah, you gain major mending, increasing your healing down by 25%. That's really cool. If you have poisons on you or any enemy dots, you pop this skill and all 5 harmful effects are gone. That's why Templar or Magic Templar are so strong. Resolving Vigor, keep this up at all times, it's your strongest heal. Then Spell Wall. So this ultimate is highly underrated, especially when you fight versus several enemies, because it basically makes you damage immune to all ranged skills because they get reflected back to the enemy. So you can pull out insane damage while being crazy tanky for 7 seconds. And it only costs 96 ultimate points. It's so freaking cheap. Second bar, we are using two-hander. We have Rally here, really strong burst heal. Repentance, so this gives us back a lot of stamina once the enemy is dead. So when you play in a group, make sure to have at least one Templar, because you regain so much stamina from dead enemies. It's insane. Reverse Slice. Now I choose this morph over the other one because it also does splash damage. It's really nice execute, especially if you do a heavy attack, Dawnbreaker of Smithing into a reverse slice. Binding Javelin, so this has a huge range. It's so fast, it's insane. You will see when I show you the fights afterwards. Then we have Power of the Light. Now this got a small buff. So the thing is, you see maximum copied damage is 22k. Sure, but you will crit and you cannot make it crit, but if you manage to fully charge it will deal between 7 to 10k damage on the enemy, given that you manage to charge it fully. So that's another thing, right? People try to avoid power, like getting hit when Power of the Light is on them. But us having proc sets and biting jabs, snaring them and all that kind of stuff makes it really hard to avoid. So you can channel up a lot of damage to fuck them up. Dawnbreaker of Smithing. This is also a really strong ultimate, especially if you have 2-3 people in your group and they pop it at the same time. It's like goodbye enemies. It's insane damage. It also stuns them so they get knocked down. In terms of combos, so basically there is one major combo you want to pull off is this build. Power of the Light, Javelin, Weapon Swap, Jab. That will deal so much damage, it fucks up most enemies actually. So why is this strong? Power of the Light, and now you can weapons cancel the Binding Javelin. You see, you almost didn't see the animation. If you do it slow, it's this. If you cancel it, it's this. Most people will not block it, therefore will get knocked down. Weapon swap, and then they will most likely take a full jabs, like 4 ticks into their face before they can move out of it. Now, why is this so effective? The moment we weapon swap, Valley Ref will go off, Viper will go off, Burning Light will go off, so that's 3 procs. We have the poison that will go off, that's 4 procs. It's so much procs in their face. And then Power of the Light will be fully charged because they ate up. It's like 15 to 20k damage before they even can react to something like that. And then they have to deal with the Power of the Light on top. If they're not dead, reverb bash them. Heal debuff them even further. So that's 40% here with 66% here. It's multiplicative, so it's so much healing debuff, especially against stamina builds. They basically cannot fucking heal themselves anymore, that's what I'm trying to say here. And now we only have Viper active on the sword and board bar, so that's how we can ensure Viper will not go off before we actually put Power of the Light on them. The weapon swap, you see, Valley Ref hits, Viper hits, Burning Light proc hits, because it has a 25% chance it will go off, believe me. It's so much damage. It's fucking insane. Then if they try to get away, you have your shield, you have your charged assault. Remember that. So it's very important to keep Power of the Light on the enemy. What you also can do if he's not CC'd, like just CC him shortly before Power of the Light goes off, and bam, he will take huge damage. You need to get the feeling for that though, it's not easy to do. If you get debuffs on you, you have extended ritual, everything is gone, heal back up. It's really nice. Now in terms, when you're in a small group, you have 2-3 people, you really should be in TeamSpeak. Do a heavy attack, Dawnbreaker, Executioner. If 2-3 people do that on one enemy, he's fucking pinata. No way he's gonna survive. You also can animation cancel the reverse slice, so this is the fully effect. This is animation cancel. You literally didn't fucking see it, okay? This is when I block cancel it with block. Or bash. Bash is slower. Block is fast. And weapon swap is even faster. You see it goes off because of dust, but you don't see it. So when you do that heavy attack, Dawnbreaker, swap combo, the reason why I weapon swap, even though like I don't use reverse slice twice most of the times, because weapon swap I check. I know Viper will go off, drain health, poisons will go off, Burning Light will go off, so it's about the same damage, if not even more. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Now, we have about 1k stem recovery depending on how much CP, like how you aligned your CP. On the non-champion points campaign, you want to use this food instead of this here. The reason why is because you will get around 1.6k stamina recovery. We are in a PvE zone at the moment, so you will have like 27k stem, 26k health, which is more than enough. And that way, because we also have heavy armor to sustain ourselves through the constitution, you see, every 4 seconds we get 930 magic and stamina back. We get like increased healing and all that stuff. It's just fucking insane, those heavy armor passives. On top of that, you see, increase your healing received by 9% and then increases the magicka or stamina, your heavy attacks restore by 25%. So if you're low on stem, which most likely you will not be, start weaving some heavy attacks on your sword and board bar, but I really think you will not have issues. Now let's go check out some fancy pantsy gameplay just to show you off some combos. This Magicka DK tries to build up a lot of dots together with Elemental Drain to like get a shit ton of damage on me. However, as I'm a Templar, I have extended Ritual, simply cleansing all the dots, which kind of negates or makes this build versus a Templar very ineffective. Same thing with the roots. If he tries to roots me, I just cleanse and it's gone. Pop the power of the light, throw the spear, immediately weapon swap. Most people like do not block fast enough because the spear is so fast. And then when you swap to your first bar, Viper will immediately proc and most likely burning light. So those are two procs that go off more or less at the same time, so we have so much incoming damage. And he has difficulties healing back up because I'm wearing Vasalas. He seems to sustain through Elemental Drain, but because I cleanse it always, he will get into resource issues pretty soon and then Ripperoni. In this fight I actually forgot to wear Valid Ref, so I was only wearing 5 heavy armor pieces. Simply cleanse the Zork's Curse with Extended Ritual, it will deal 0 damage. Same combo, Power of the Light, Spear, usually they don't block so they get knocked back. While they are knocked down they most likely take a hit from Validef, Viper, Burning Light, which is insane damage, and by then the Power of the Light will have built up the damage and bam. Zork drops his shield for a half a second, Power of the Light goes off, deals 7k damage because we channeled up so much damage on Power of the Light because he didn't avoid any of the damage hits. He streaks away, weapon swap, Power of the Light, throw a spear, he gets knocked back. You basically can't see it because he's so fast, and then Ripperoni. Make sure to check out this video. I know you won't. Come on, click on it, click on it. It's really cool gameplay in a small group. It's not exactly the same build, but you will get the idea. And I will definitely try to record more gameplay with this kind of build because I really like the setup. So as soon as I get time to actually PvP more, I will do my best to record stuff.